When Alison moved from Florida to London, she arrived on Gypsy Hill Station with 2 refrigerator-sized suitcases. So the doors of the train opened, and she can just about push one out, go back for the other one, but the doors closed when she was inside, and this thing was so she pulled the emergency cable to stop the train.
I got yelled at.
They opened the door, there's all these people yelling at her. She's pulling the other fridge freezer out of the train. One rolls down onto the track. This is the beginning of my band.
Oh, I was on tour with a band called Discount, which was my first band. And we were touring Europe and England a lot. And I and his roommate that lived downstairs from you drove the van that we were in, and his other roommate booked the tours that we went on. So we would always go there and sleep on the floor. And I heard Jamie playing guitar upstairs through the ceiling, and I didn't know him. I hadn't met him yet. But I thought it was the greatest sound I'd ever heard. I was obsessed.
I don't think she spoke to me for her first week. I would say things to her, and she would just light up like bright red and not say a word. And I'd be like, wow, this is really bizarre. And then she'd kind of say little words every now and again. And then she'd come round to my place and just sit cross-legged on the floor and roll me cigarettes. And I'd play her in exchange for that, I'd play her music she'd never heard. Lots of like Charlie Patton and Lead Belly and Velvet Underground. And
it's really funny though when he's playing records to people. It's like 30 seconds of a song. Wait, you've got to listen to this. And so you get like these little tiny. I love that. No, I want to hear that again. So then he would go out and I would play the whole.
I just get overexcited. I put something on and it'll be like, oh, you've got to listen to this, and then 25 seconds. I'd like to do a club where you just play 25 seconds of songs.
I mean, this whole thing kind of happened really organically, but I was on tour with this other band, and he was really encouraging me to write music, and I'd never really written music. I'd just written lyrics to other people's music, to my band's music, but.
Well, actually.
So he was really encouraging, and he was like, take this cassette 4-track with you on tour, and see what you come up with. So I would stay up all night and just with whatever stuff I could get my hands on, and I would like record people drumming and then take that and put it in and then record bits of like European radio and talking and.
Which ended up actually on the second record.
That's on there too, but so his hand is like that.
Yeah.
And then, using the dictaphone and just kind of making these, I mean, they're kind of more like art collages with sound, really. Just sort of how my brain works. So that was the first stuff that I brought back to him. Just show you what I made as a present. Here you go. And some of those things show up on the records.
It sounds a bit stupid saying like sound collages, but it was really like, it really was. It was like somebody that didn't know how to write songs. Almost someone that hadn't heard a song before. And she was like making these things, and it was like, they were amazing. They were really amazing. There's a culture of saying you're going to do things, and that's almost enough. Just saying you're going to do this stuff. And I'm not sure how convinced I was that the band was really going to happen. And she absolutely flogged me with it, moving over and whipping me into shape to do this. The first show was in this place called the 12 Bar Club on Denmark Street, which doesn't exist anymore. But it was a really odd place to play because there was a balcony that was like here in front
right
of you.
Your head.
So you'd and the stage was kind of quite high, so you'd have this odd effect where there'd be people's heads here at sort of groin level, and then people's groins at head level. and you sort of had to play like that. And
you kind of ducked down.
It was kind of
the audience.
But imagine that, but not sexy at all. And so that was the first concert. And we didn't know what. I always think it's funny that we didn't know what we were going to sound like. I thought we were going to be like a sort of acoustic band, or like we used to have this like terrible kind of cabaret act called Peters and Lee, right? And one of them was a blind guy and his wife, and I thought we might sound a bit like that, You know, it was kind of like a sort of, you know, the sort of middle of the road kind of acousticy kind of stuff. Because we'd never played out loud before.
Well, electrified before. We'd never had anywhere that we could plug anything in and be loud, so we had no idea. Like what it would sound like to sing through a mic, you know, in a room. Or we were very pleased when we played. We kept looking at each other like, wow.
Yeah, and we handed out
So
these
loud.
we had these little personalised comic books that we handed out, and it just all really worked. It was kind of surprised us that there was loads of people who were just really into it, and we had a little crowd of people afterwards asking us what we were doing next, and we said, well, we're going to come up with a name, because we didn't have a name. And then it kind of, we just got gigs booked one after the other after that. We actually recorded this first in Harlem, in New York, because I was a big fan of this band called Jonathan Fire Eater, and they had a studio in Harlem, so we went up there to record it, and it, for one reason or another, we didn't know what we were doing, and neither did they. And it just sounded rubbish, if I'm honest.
Do you still have that? Because I'd love to hear it now.
I would too. It might sound brilliant.
It might be better.
That's such a
than
good
that.
idea. We should have released that for the 15th anniversary. But the problem with it is, it wasn't just like, it wasn't a very good recording. It was like, there was a problem with the earth, the ground, you know, and it would just kind of, they'd play something back and it would just start with, and then you'd hear 1, 2, 3, 4, but it was basically, the hum was louder than the music. So it wouldn't be good to listen to, I don't think. Maybe it sounded like Spaceman 3. Never know. But it was 2002, and there was, the climate was this kind of, all these overproduced bands like stadium singer-songwriters and things like that. And there was this abundance of information in every magazine, everywhere, and, you know, like press and photographs, and it was kind of the beginning of this thing of like overexposure, getting yourself out there. And we came from background of like punk, anarcho-punk, Riot Girl, sort of, and we were really anti all that. The point was that we didn't want to be spoilt early on by being a buzz band and like being everywhere. We just wanted to, we knew we wanted to be a band for a long time. But we didn't want...
It felt really like...
We didn't want to do press.
We just started. We don't have anything to say about this yet, you know? It was like we wanted to do it for a while and actually have a chance to become who we were going to become and create what we were going to make, you know, before...
I mean, there was a lot of bands that would sort of
you know,
launch themselves in like Enemy or whatever, you know, and be like... and it was just so kind of cheesy that it was obvious that this is the pose that we've chosen. We're going to be like, you know, we don't give a f***. We're going to be like that. And we've got the good-looking one and a fat one and a mysterious one and a nutty one. And that, you know, and we just didn't want to be anything like any of those bands. We spent probably 3 times as long on the artwork than we did on the recording.
For sure.
I got sleepless nights over the fact that we put our fingerprints on the front because I thought somehow I was going to get... Someone was going to steal my identity or I was going to get into trouble somehow. I grew up in quite a paranoid squat society where everyone was worried about everything. Like, all my bills were in false names, everything. And so it was like, dude, this is really bad. Someone's going to steal my identity and, like, give it to the police because I'm so dangerous.